Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Mladenow, for your briefing. I thank Ambassador Haley and the United States for convening this emergency session of the Security Council. It is not often that the Council is called for an emergency session following a provocation by Hamas. Today's meeting marks a concrete step in the right direction. But today we need action. The Council must act on the opportunity presented to them. In response to the most severe attack by Hamas and Islamic Jihad since the 2014 Operation Protective Edge, the Security Council must take two decisive actions. The first action is to condemn Hamas for its war crimes against Israelis and Palestinians. The second action is to pass a resolution. Madam President, let us review the facts. Over the past 24 hours, Hamas and Islamic Jihad fired nearly 200 rockets and mortar shells from the Gaza Strip into nearby Israeli towns and villages. The terrorists began their attacks on Tuesday, just as parents were preparing their young children for the school day. I will share with you a chilling example. During the assault, a mortar shell exploded in the yard of a kindergarten, damaging the structure. By sheer luck, the kindergarten was empty and no one was hurt. But this attack was a war crime. The deliberate goal of the terrorists was to kill civilians. We have warned this Council of Hamas's intentions time and again. We have explained to you the imminent danger of the coordinated violent riots Hamas has orchestrated along the security fence. The mob, incited and paid for by Hamas, attempted to breach the fence by force, opened fire at our soldiers, and detonated explosives. Hamas terrorists even set fire to the Kerem Shalom civilian border crossing, a crossing designated for food and humanitarian goods to enter Gaza. The latest attacks of the past 24 hours, the firing of shells and rockets at our citizens, and the destruction of major electricity infrastructure for Gaza only confirm our countless warnings that Hamas not only seeks to instill fear in the hearts of Israelis, but that it could not care less about the Palestinians it controls in Gaza. In response to these terror attacks, the Israel Defense Forces have targeted Hamas and Islamic Jihad's terror infrastructure. We also destroyed the 10th Hamas terror attack tunnel uncovered in Gaza since October. The IDF destroyed this tunnel, one that began in Gaza, wove through Egypt, and ended right in southern Israel near the Kerem Shalom civilian crossing. Like all of Hamas's terror tunnels, this one too was intended to infiltrate Israel and harm as many civilians as possible. But this terror tunnel also had a second purpose: to smuggle weapons into Egypt from Gaza. Madam President, Iran's role in this latest unrest should not be ignored. It is Iranian money that is used to pay the Hamas rioters on the fence. It is Iranian rockets that were fired at our towns. Just like in Syria and Lebanon, wherever there is terror and violence in our region, there is Iran. Hamas is no different. No matter which tactic it chooses, whether it's suicide bombers, rioters at the fence, or rockets and missiles, when Hamas has the opportunity to harm innocent people, it doesn't hold back. That is the sickening ideology of Hamas. Madam President, we have here a situation that is black and white. Israel disengaged from Gaza in 2005. I keep reminding it. Hamas took over the following year, and since then it has done nothing but terrorize Israel and prolong the suffering of the people of Gaza. Let us also not forget that Hamas continues to hold the bodies of 2 Israeli soldiers, Adar Goldin and Doron Shaul, and 2 Israeli civilians, Avera Mengistu and Hisham al-Sayad, we will not rest until they have returned home. Let me remind you that the situation in Gaza today is a direct result of Hamas's refusal to renounce violence. Let me also remind you that the quartet conditions put forward by the United States, the Russian Federation, the European Union, and the United Nations were very clear about the need to renounce violence. We have said time and again, if there were no terror, there would be no restrictions, and it is the people of Gaza who would benefit most. Even today, when the UN Special Coordinator for the Middle East Peace Process, Nikolai Maladanov, advocates for civilian projects in Gaza, it is Hamas that destroys those prospects. It is Israel that attaches great importance to the international effort to assist Gaza's economy and development. Madam President, Hamas destroys civilian infrastructure because it doesn't want the people of Gaza to live in peace. Hamas has committed endless terror attacks against Israel and the Palestinians in Gaza, and the past 24 hours were no different. There is no moral equivalence. There is not even a question of morality. Some cynical members of this council are circulating a shameful resolution that does not even mention Hamas. Look at the resolution. The idea that Hamas's violence is being rewarded by a resolution condemning Israel is absurd. Every member of this council needs to ask itself how you can possibly support a resolution that condemns Israel but does not even mention Hamas once. Read the resolution. Read it tonight. You are going to vote about this resolution. Maybe you will help me to find the word Hamas in this resolution. How many times do you mention Israel? And Hamas? Not even once. What hypocrisy. Madam President, if this body does not sanction a clear condemnation of Hamas, it will raise the question of whether this body is capable of protecting innocent life against terror. The key step to accept reality that Hamas is a terrorist organization, no less. Terrorist organizations must be designated as such by the Security Council. Designating Hamas as a terrorist organization will enable the Council to sanction its leaders, its members, and every person or entity with which it associates. It is a designation that will result in countless lives saved. It is high time that the international community combat Hamas with the same tools and vigor that it uses against Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Let me be clear. If Israeli children cannot sleep quietly at night, then the terrorists of Gaza will feel the might of the IDF. We will not allow anyone to harm our citizens, and we will do all that is necessary to defend them. Madam President, we ask the Security Council to have the courage and the moral clarity to take the following actions: condemn Hamas and designate Hamas as a terrorist organization recognized by the UN. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Israel for his statement.